Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, and in front of us we have a beer that was brewed with homegrown hops. These hops, it's harvest time here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's about time to make these beers that are nice transitional beers from season to season. So I made an American brown ale with homegrown nugget hops for the most part. I'll tell you more about it as my friend Mike here drinks the beer. Now, because I was using whole cone, homegrown hops, my boil size was a little bit bigger than I normally do, like a whole gallon more. So for a 7.5 gallon boil size, making a 5-gallon batch size, the water I used was filtered tap water, treated with a Camden tablet to get rid of some of that chlorine aroma and flavor that we talked about. Here's the grain bill. 10 pounds of raw American two-row malt, that's 87% of the grist bill. A half pound of chocolate malt, I think I have 350 Lovavon of that, that's 4%. Half pound of Crystal 40, another 4%. A quarter of a pound of Crystal 60, that's 60 Lovavon, that's 2%. And then instead of some recipes call for victory malt, I put a quarter of a pound of special roast malt.
And we've said before, yes, that's the secret weapon.
That is the secret weapon
for making a good brown ale.
There you go. And I said that's what we're doing because we learned that from the Brew Dudes brown ale from last year's community brew. 2% of that, and that is the grain bill. My mash for 1 hour is 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 66 degrees Celsius, or for a 60-minute boil. And this was the additions of hops. These were 2 ounces of dried homegrown nugget hops for 60 minutes to go in the boil. And then I added 3 ounces of homegrown nugget hops for 15 minutes to go in the boil. Fermented at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 degrees Celsius for 14 days. And then my brother had some Cascade hops that he grew. I had 2 ounces of that. Again, it's really hard to dry hop with whole hops, and you're talking like, all right, I'm just going to put a whole bunch in there until I can get something out of it. I added that at day 3 of primary fermentation and had it in there for 4 days. The starting gravity was 1044, the finishing gravity was 1012, at an ABV of 4.2%.
What was the yeast?
The yeast was 1 packet of US 05.
Okay.
And a couple of comments on that, but I just want to talk about the low ABV because, you know, I had to, when I batch sparge, I had to get a lot of sparge, and I think it just wasn't as sugary as the first runnings, and so and I didn't boil for long enough to get it down because I really wanted to keep a lot of those hop cones suck in a lot of wort, and so when you're transferring from your kettle after chilling into your fermenter, there's not a lot left, and I wanted to make sure I hit my 5.5 gallon marks, and so it's a little less alcoholic than it should be.
What were you shooting for a starting gravity?
Yeah, like 1050.
Okay, so you're only 6 points off or so. Okay,
not too bad. So that's that, and then the US 05, 1 packet. Because I have to siphon from the kettle to the fermenter, there's not a lot of aeration, so I put in a package of yeast and then just shook that thing for a good 10 minutes. You know, your kids come down, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, don't worry about this kid.
He's making beer.
At least they're interested. 5 years from now when they're teenagers, they'll be like,
they won't be interested, they'll just be taking it.
They'll probably take it. Drinking it. And we'll discuss that later.
Once our kids hit teenage age, that's when
we have to shut it down.
This thing will end because we'll be guarding the beer. We won't have time to shoot videos about the beer.
Let's celebrate the next 5 years together. All right, so that's the beer. What's your take on this particular one?
So these are all homegrown hops.
All homegrown hops, no commercial hops.
And all dried, right?
All dried. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting. Like a black tea. I get a black tea and a little bit of an earthy component on the nose.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I don't get a whole lot of a fruity, citrusy thing from the
Cascade.
this crop of Cascade, right? There is an aroma in there, but it's a little bit more, like, I think it's more of the malt and a little bit more of maybe the, something interesting with this crop of homegrown hops. There's something, so I find the aroma is intriguing. I'm trying to...
The nuggets are really woody to me.
Yeah, maybe that's like,
I think that's what it was. Like even like rubbing them in my hand, it wasn't like very pungent in terms, like, you know, some like a little bit of pine, but like mostly like kind of a strong, earthy, woody aroma.
Yeah. There's a little bit of, so then on the flavor, there's actually a little bit of like, a little bit more of that black tea-like thing. Maybe almost, after I tasted it, and it's probably because you mentioned the woody thing, there's almost like a little bit of like a cedar quality to it.
Yeah.
From the hops. After I swallow it and it resolves a little bit, I get the special roast. The crystal malts, there's a level of sweetness there that it's not really sweet, but there's a crystal malt quality to it that is fairly present. The only thing it's lacking to me, I wish it just had a little bit more of a toasty punch to it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it needs more special roast or if it's
probably,
or if it's just the hop, whatever that flavor profile is. Give me like the earthy, cedary, black tea thing is just sort of maybe sitting on top of it a little bit, and it's just hard to get to. That type of flavor quality. The mouthfeel is excellent. Carbonation is good. The drinkability is really high.
Yeah.
It's very, very drinkable. And because it's so smooth, I like the fact that it's only, you know, 4.5% or something. I mean, this is, you can drink this, in a nice brown ale like this, you should drink a lot of this.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
Yeah. So overall, you know, it's pretty good. What do you get?
I mean, I think the same thing. I think I get a little more of the chocolate malt too. Right? It certainly was tasting it along the way, because I was in the fermenter, like putting hops in, you know, taking them out. So I was just taking like little thieves, you know, and like to me it was like there was like sometimes it was like really sweet, and I was like, oh boy, the hops aren't really coming through at all. But like after fermentation was done, and then once I got it on some gas, that's when at least I was like, okay, I don't know really about the hop flavor per se, but at least there's like some bitterness quality there that kind of blends with the maltiness and the caramel malts especially. So it's good. I mean, is it the best brown ale I've ever had? No. Is it something that I could have at a party for like on a crisp fall Saturday afternoon, like, and just have guys drinking beer? I think that's exactly the proper application for this beer, and I could say like, hey, right over there, I grew these hops, and you're drinking them now. I
think as it clears up a little bit, like I like the color. The color is pretty good. I mean, it's decidedly brown, but I think as it clears a little bit, it's going to be. I think the true color as it clears, it's going to be. There's a little bit like of a mahogany thing in the fringe of the glass. I think that what you'll see once it clears is that it's going to be a little bit lighter, and I think it could take a little bit more of the chocolate malt, which would then bring out just a little bit more of that toast quality, I think, you know, or a little bit more of the chocolate and the special roast together, just a smidge more, because I think once it clears, it won't look as brown as it looks now. And I think, and all that means is you wouldn't be making it too dark by getting a little bit more of those roasted malts in there.
Got it. Cool. All right.
Yeah, no, it's pleasant. Good drinker.
Good drinker, and I'm glad I was able to use hops in a proper format, and you know, rather than, I don't know, either over hop a beer or throw them out. So this is beer 1 of 3 that I'm going to brew. The next one is going to be an American Pale that has only Chinook hops in it. We'll see how that turns out, and then we're going to do a lager with Magnum hops and see how that turns out. And we'll see. So it's almost like this year is about learning about the hops that I grow up in my backyard. Certainly, what we've learned, if we're going to take notes, black tea, cedary, earthy hops from the Nugget. I just had this like imagination that this would go well with like a malt forward beer, but
it'd be fun to rebrew exactly this with some commercial Nugget and Cascade.
Yeah.
It would be drastically different.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be a really cool side by side.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, hopefully we can hold on to these and
I know.
they don't drink it all at my party.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's what we got. Thanks a lot for watching. If you dig this kind of stuff, we put out a video every Wednesday. Subscribe to our channel. I can say it. And if you dig it, like the video, leave a comment below. Especially if you've ever grown your own hops. I know some people are like, I can't, and even if I could, I wouldn't. But and I hear you. I mean, the thing is, I grow these, and I'm getting to the point of like, you know what? The beers are just okay, and I'd rather like have a better sense of like the type of hop quality I get from the commercial things I can buy. And this is just kind of like fun things for parties. Like, hey, again, over there, you see those vines that are browning and dying? That's where the hops are in this beer. That's what produced the hops in this beer. And then you're like, cool. And then people just keep drinking it.
Just keep drinking.
If you like buying books, Beer Brewing 101 is available on Amazon. We'll put a link below. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.